Hello, welcome to sunny Copenhagen. This is Finn from AXcademy with a short webinar about the new Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Futures due summer 2021, or at least according to the release wave 1. Some has been out and some are going out. I'm not going to discuss which. I'm just going to present you my top. Is it 20? Was it 15? Whatever. The top new features out this summer. Thank you very much for joining. Alison will be with me and helping during the chat. And at the end of the webinar, I hope to have time for a few questions about the topics in here. This is not going to be in details. The session will cover the improvements in product information management. It will also have some of the things about the new inventory and logistic features, which will help visibility and other things too. That we could now scale using different tools when we've got some mission critical processes like master planning and other things too, that we could scale up. We're doing the things in the warehouse and sort of put them to some other, just like we're doing with lots of other things, making it faster and so on to run Dynamics 365, and we don't care about that. And finally, we've got the planning features, introducing the MRP II capabilities in the fairly new planning optimization add-in, another feature that helps us run processes off the heavy weighting hubs that we have, and then putting it to somewhere else. Finally, asset management add-in notes. Asset management was a fairly new module added. And it's been improved all the time now with possibilities of, well, we'll see more about that later on. In fact, right now, because the first thing I'd like to mention is the asset management. Not too much about that, but the possibility of doing some billing to the customers about the work we've actually been doing. So if you're using asset management to maintain a record and other things about the assets being owned by your customers, now you can do some maintenance, like you've done a project, you sold some medical equipment, and that's, of course, since you sold it to the customers, it's theirs, but you still keep track of things like it's going to be maintained, because as part of that project, or basically just a sales order, then you also had a contract with the customer to maintain their equipment delivered by you. So now a lot more easy things about the billing of maintenance work in the asset management. And I think that asset management is going to be improved quite a lot. I think the module was a very valuable addition to Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Finance, well, working with all the things in there. And now we've got more options in there as well. That was it for the assets. In the inventory and logistics, I won't get away with just this, because there's lots of things in there. And please note, this is just highlighting things in here, and then for your own sake, out of curiosity or whatever, then at the end of the webinar, I will encourage you to go search for more. I actually think that Microsoft have beefed up their game with doing documentation as they've been doing for a while. So I think for all these features and more, there's a lot of things. You can find links in my blog post I did about this recently, and also directly on Microsoft Docs, of course. And one of the things I really think is interesting, partly because I'm also very much into finance, is the global inventory accounting add-in. And what does it do? Well, some of the things that it does is it does the global. And I think the global thing is one of the things which I think is really great. So with the global things in here, then it's possible to set up inventory ledgers for the variable legal entities that you have. You know, it could be a trouble before to do inventory management according to authority standards or IFRS or whatever it would be. So if you're using some of the inventory valuation models like standard cost, which is not approved for official reporting in all countries, then you would need to do some kind of manual thing. Now, in this solution, it's not possible to set up that you would for the various organizations and the different legal entities in the different countries. You'll be able to follow the rules out of the box by adding possibilities of doing things in the inventory, in accounting, and in reporting, soon to become a true secondary currency, in accounting currency and reporting currency. So I think this is a fantastic addition, improvement to what happens in Dynamics 365 supply chain management and finance, I think, as well. So for those of you coming back to another webinar I'm doing in about 2 weeks about the finance stuff, this is going to be in here once again. Sorry, but I really think this is important. And also these improvements with the additional things, the add-ins that allows you to get to one place to get an overview for global thing kind of once again, I think the inventory visibility add-in is a great thing. So there could be lots of things to calculate, there could be lots of things to get an overview. So good old Dynamics 365 supply chain management might be struggling. Now we've got all these add-ins. This is not the last one I'm going to mention today. We've got all these add-ins trying to give some helping hands. In the good old days with AX acceptance on some of the pain points were this about the inventory visibility and the master planning, the high volume of work and transactions. And now Microsoft, I think, is taking a lot of effort to make sure that it is real-time or near real-time, as we still see it in some places. So I think this is really good, being able to use some RESTful APIs easily to configure, well, depending on who you are, I guess. Another big addition, well, finance once again, sorry, landed cost module. The landed cost module enables you to define and track some of the things that happens from your supplier to your warehouse, so you can calculate the various things before cost, right? Landed cost, but before it actually happens on that. So you could do accruals and other things much more precise and efficiently that you'd be able to do without the landed cost module. This is a module in itself. It helps visibility, it helps the transparency, it helps sort of predicting what's going to happen from a cost perspective for goods inbound, that is. Next thing I'd like to mention in this part is about the warehouse management mobile application. This is one of the high frequently used user interfaces in Dynamics 365. So of course, a lot of attention given to that. This is one of the places where I think that Microsoft wins a lot of customers because it's so easy to use a mobile phone or a special mobile device or whatever, and use that for, well, not all the things that you do in warehouse management, but quite a lot. But of course, also in manufacturing, production, if you prefer. Now, the new design concepts in here is about, well, whatever extensive usability studies would be, but basically it's something about, you could work with this even with your gloves on, as I think you could tell it, that it's easier now to do the things with being able to rearrange the user interface and also have some additional possibilities for the configuration, some additional features that you could switch on in here. So learned the hard way that some complaints about that it's hard to use with gloves on or big fingers or whatever it would be. Now changes have happened to this, I think, very important user interface part of warehouse management mobile application. So since this is used very much, I think this is a good one. That's quite often what I do when I'm on projects, when I do training and so on, that the simple things could be the ones that gives the highest value. I know you can do all sorts of fancy things with Dynamics 365. There's really a lot of times it's down to earth, reduce the number of clicks for financial accountants, reduce the possibility of doing errors when you got your gloves on or whatever it is, the daily things you do time and time again, which is more important to our end-user customers perhaps than the really fancy things that we could do loads of and which we're all very much, well, into. But simple things, I think, helps a lot. And that's why I've got some of the things about the simple things with the user interface in here. Rebates module is updated. The rebates module where you can do the rebates, the loyalties, the deductions, and so on. There's more possibilities in here now. So this is just, whoops, sorry. This is just for mentioning that it now has an additional couple of options in there. One of the things that I was not sure if I was actually going to mention that, but I thought, hey, what happened? An improvement to source quotations. And this is source quotations in Dynamics 365 F&O, not CE, not in sales and so on. In good old, in Dynamics 365 FO. When was the last time that something happened with source quotations? I went through my notes and I couldn't find anything recently happening. But still a lot of people that use this, so I'm really glad to see that Microsoft still does do improvements to these areas too. And no matter when it happened the last time, we did training actually this year as well in the sales quotation, the CRM part of the sales module in Dynamics 365 for a pan-European organization. So it is obviously still being used, it's still being implemented to new customers or as a new module to existing customers. So good thing is that things are happening. Not much, but still there's something in there. That was with the document introduction conclusion fields and a lookup functionality. I still wish they'd do something about variables and other things too, so we could make it more flexible. At least something happened in it. So I guess there's still hope. In manufacturing, loads of things. This is more my colleague Andreas' turf, but still lots of things in there, including once again with the interface in there. On a production floor, depending on which devices you're using, there'll be things happening in here with the design. So I'm showing a little bit about the design. This could be listed under asset management as well. So it could be, well, under finance as well, but just worth mentioning. So this feature adds a new tab on the production floor execution interface. You know, the production floor execution interface is where you can design what the layout is going to be depending on the devices that you have. Now, since we have the asset management module, why not be able to use some functionality over that the worker is working on some kind of machinery, CNC or whatever it would be, and say, hey, this asset needs maintenance. So why would you need to navigate somewhere else? You could say, hey, this needs maintenance. I'd like to schedule downtime. I add some reasons or whatever it be right from where I am. And making it simple. Once again, gloves on, and then you just hit the right buttons if the design is okay, and if you decided to add it in here. So, and this is now the possibility of request maintenance. That's the button number 3 on the presentation in there. And button number 4 is to register downtime. So you can request the maintenance to happen later on. You can say it's broken right now, so stop. Don't push any more work towards this CNC or forklift or whatever it would be, what kind of equipment you would have. Save use. I know it's not an extremely fancy thing. I push it at all times, which people attending my classes or working on projects where I'm involved, then I push this sometimes a bit too hard. But I really think that save use it's not a lifesaver, but it's a time saver, because we can do so many things, but not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to be an all-singing, dancing consultant or super user. I just want my job to be done. So why do I need to have a look at all these things on this screen? I appreciate the things about the request and maintenance or whatever it would be, but I don't care about it. Take it off, get it out of my, well, whatever, take it off my screen. So now save use have been added for production control. There's nothing that you couldn't build yourself, but do you get it done? That's more like it. So Microsoft has now added save use for production control as well. There's 4 in there for the orders list page and details page, for the bill of materials page, and for the order picking as well. So even though this is not a production specific thing, it's rather UI general thing I've listed in here, I'm very much into this, making things easier. So please do consider that you got in here save use feature management. There's more than 30 out of the box now from Microsoft. You just have to switch them on in feature management. And then don't forget the easiness of spreading the good word or the good saved use in the organization to a single, to a group, or to all. If you got the control for that, and that would, of course, include these, and it will include all the ones that the users they would create. I can't see anything against using saved use, to be honest. There are other enhanced functionality in here as well. Another UI thing in here are the production flow execution interface. Some extra tools that you can now do some search and filtering. You need to configure the user interface to make the best use of this. So I just added a quick snack from the setup of the user interface. But now you can, if you want to, you can set up that you can search and filter for the jobs in here when you're using that production flow execution interface, the gloves on or whatever you're going to do with that. And there's also the possibility of making it extremely simple so it can be used for plug in and plug out only. All of this, I think, is well documented with Microsoft, and there's no reason for not having a look at that. Things quite in the other end, the bigger things in there could be this manufacturing execution with skill units in the cloud. What is this about? Distributing the workload, basically, not among people, but among, well, whatever servers, whatever cloud solutions that you have. This could enable that things happens much faster. Distribute the workloads in there. So you got your standard solution, got the standard environment set up, and then you could then say, hey, we would like to extend this standard solution to the hub, so we could add some units in here. There's a couple of additional notes to this, but basically this would take some of the work off the central hub, it distributed out there somewhere. If you got an on-premise, which is right now not being used because you put everything into Azure hosting or whatever happened, now you could split the execute phase into a separate workload. I think this is great, really, because all the way through, ever since, well, Concorde XL or whatever in the good old days, to Acceptor, AX, now to Dynamics 365, there's always some bottleneck, and this could be somewhat still. So now, standard solution, plan, execute, and finalize on your solution, on your hub, and then you could split the execution part with some of the fine print in there. You could split the execution part into some separate skill unit or units, which could be your existing server part back home in your basement or garden shed or wherever you have your server part. There are some additional things in here about the fine print is that, okay, now we cannot use the production flow execution interface does not support the report to finish, and it does not report the put away work. So for that, you would have to use the warehouse management mobile app. But I think it's coming around soon. But right now, if you start doing this distributed kind of thing in here, pay attention to that. You cannot just handle everything on the production floor execution. You need to apply also a rollout, install the warehouse management mobile app But once again, I think this is great. So, as mentioned, a couple of things cannot be done. You can see that on the slide right now. But at the top, some of the things that can be done, and then at the bottom, some of the things that would require that this is using something else. Now, more notes in here down the same path in here that you can actually have execution done even if you're offline. Like if you got like headquarters in the US, and then you got a distribution center in Spain, you got a distribution center in Poland, then the Polish facility might be offline, but still want to continue working, of course. So now it's possible to make sure that these scale units in the separate warehouses, distribution centers, whatever, they could work offline, even if the internet was down to whatever, something happened, hackers or whatever it would be. Right, more things, just need to keep an eye on the clock. One of my favorites, I'm all in for quality control. It doesn't always look like that on my slides, I know, but I'm all in for quality control. And some of the things that on projects I've been requested to do quite often is when working with quality orders, setting up automatic quality order creation with the quality association setup. Some of the things you can't do and that are met quite often is kind of random sampling or random testing or whatever it would be. Like for every 100 orders, we need to pick 5 out of those, and it will happen by whatever. Or learning if all the quality orders pass the test, then we will go down to sample only 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 or whatever. You can't do that in standard quality association, well, the tool for creating the quality orders in supply chain management. Now, Power Automate, one of my favorites, comes in here. You know, Power Automate is the guy that takes over more and more of the classic workflows, the proprietary ones inside Dynamics 365, and now for the creation of the quality orders as well. And Microsoft has done the hard work. It even has a very good description on how to do it, and you can even download a template as well. So, configuring the low-code or no-code use of the Power Apps, you could now create quality orders with a lot more flexibility than you have in standard quality associations. So this short video, very short one, I think it's a couple of minutes only, how to use the RPA, and then there's also a showcase template to download. What's not to like? I don't know. I'm all in for this in here. The Power Automation, great thing, and I think quality orders are a good thing too, but the quality association kind of find a little bit limited in the automated creation of quality orders. Random sampling is one of the things I've been asked about quite often, and that's not possible with the standards. A bit about planning, master planning, whatever, planning optimization, the new or fairly new plugin in there. There's always there's often when a new functionality is being released, then there's a bit of catch up from Microsoft too. And that's the same thing with the planning optimization. So with this release wave 2021-1, then we got the support in here now for negative days and cost time fins and a few other things, as you could see on the screen. And it all helps with perhaps pushing more users towards that. So things can happen with the planning that the users can see real time or near real time, which this planning optimization add-in really helps towards. So you don't necessarily have to do this with the dynamic and the static and other plans as well. Smaller things, user interface things, once again, plan auto firming with filtering. That does not sound like a big thing, but once again, it's something that you do all the time. So adding more and more possibilities in here to be able to select from the plan orders based on this and that and so on, which ones to firm or activate, some people call it. Firm is the buzzword, is good. And also the possibilities of previewing when you select this in here, so you don't, I shouldn't have done that. And I got a chance not sure if the user interface is really that helpful, because if you got a few hundred ones in here, it's going to be a very long list, as you can see in here. But it's here, and then hopefully there's going to be some small improvements, maybe with a separate windows. You can go through the preview on a separate screen. But the tool is here, and then, as always, it's going to be better, I guess. So now you can do the things in here with the previews and logical criteria and combining auto-firming and queries and lots of other things too. And I promised or threatened, depending on point of view, more saved views for planned orders. So I just wanted to mention that for the same reasons as saved views everywhere else. It's a time saver. I really think so. Less confusion, less clutter on the screen, easier for the everyday user, I would think. Finally, the last sort of topic in every way, the last subtopic and the last topic in here, product readiness checks. Now, it's always been sort of painted back to me that as soon as you have released a product, then it could be included in the lines of the purchase order. I know you can do the validation. I know that when you add it on the purchase order, the sales order, wherever you add it, you'll get a complaint as soon as you try to do some updates. But that's too late. There should be some kind of possibilities to go through some product readiness checks, some workflows, some rules or whatever. And now it's some of you would have been working with that with engineered products, and now it's for all products, even possible to apply to existing products. And I'm all in for this, because I really find it useful that you have a structured approach. When we got these products, when we revise the products, as we've seen for engineered products with versioning and so on, and now all products would go through, okay, marketing needs to have a say, salespeople, website. We need to design the product as well, by the way. You go through that in a structured way. So the system checks the things in here automatically, or you can do it manually in here and then set it up on some various levels in here. And the good thing about this is if there is an open readiness check for a product, the product cannot be released or used in transactions, added to a purchase order line or whatever. And I think that's a big improvement towards what was sort of the old normal, that you would release the product and oops, it was on purchase order line, or you could go, of course, to block it from purchasing or sales or whatever it would be. This is so much better. The readiness checks grouped into readiness policies, and then you apply it per single product on the group level or individual ones, released variants, or on the engineering version, you know, the first ones of this that was actually added. Now, coming closer to the end, I just wanted a heads up on this, the changes to the Microsoft certification expiration policy. I talked about that before. I just want to remind you, because we're getting close. On June the 30th, 2021, Microsoft is changing from the 2-year validity of exams to 1 year. And then we got all the things in there that we would need to get yearly updates on that. And don't forget about that. This is a chance of finally getting rid of the big exams where you get all nervous and so on, and then do the smaller ones only yearly. Or if you get your exam before June the 30th, then you can wait for 2 years from now. But make sure you understand, if you're into certification, that you understand what this is all about. Now, we don't have any certification classes for supply chain management. We just had one. We don't have any more before that. But hey, then you also know we're at it again in September. On the 6th, Andreas Luchak will be your instructor on this. And if you, by any chance, have the time, I would strongly recommend you to have a look at this. And we've got a few seats up for grabs. If you are interested in this course, then we've got a discount voucher for the first 3. It's going to sound out. Well, we already got some in there, but for the first 3 of you guys, if you want to participate in that, and we'll get the voucher code across to you in just a couple of minutes. But before that, I just want to see in the chat if there are any questions in here. So let me just have a look, and see if there's any questions over for me right now to answer in the chat box before we are out of here. Oh, let's see. No, there could be some reason, no questions right now. So for once, it seems like I am able to finish on time. That was a lot of stuff in a very short time. If you want to know more, the first place to start could be on this top 15 new features. I actually think it's more than 15, sorry about that, and they're not numbered. But anyway, I think you'd find it useful. If for nothing else, there is a link to all the details on Microsoft website. And so this could be a place to start and then follow up Microsoft website. I really think there's a lot of good features being added this summer in here for supply chain management and also for finance, which we're going to do a webinar in about a couple of weeks. You could sign up for it now if you want to. Supply chain management is a lot. Finance is a bit less with the features, but still a lot of good things in here. So have a look at the article, come back for the training now. These training courses are exam preparation courses, and that means we're very much focused on what we think you could meet at the exam. Since it's live, there's all sorts of opportunity for discussions in the classroom. The focus is on the exam, and then we can't help bringing in some of the new features as well. But it is busy with supply chain management these days, including all the things about the master planning, now part of the exam, and also about warehouse management and transportation management as well. Well, this was Finn out of Copenhagen. Thank you very much for joining me today. I wish you all a pleasant weekend once you get to it. Maybe some of you started already, this being a Friday afternoon, at least Central European time. Thank you very much, Finn from AXcademy. Hope to see you soon again. Bye-bye from Copenhagen.